God of this world. There is no greater city to the Son of God than Jerusalem. According to Isaiah, Jerusalem is engraven on his hands. One day, one of his greatest desires is to see the peace of Jerusalem. When you read the prophets, when you read Zephaniah, when he returns, he'll be delighting in the streets and rejoicing in the singing of young boys in the streets. He wants Jerusalem to be a city of peace. When he rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, he wept, and he said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that stonest the prophets, and sent all that I've sent unto you, I would have gathered you together like a hen gathereth her chicks, but ye would not. Now your house is left unto you desolate." In the book of Luke, he says, "If you had known this thy day, the peace that is due unto you, but now it is hidden from thine eyes." The Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God of the Scriptures, wants more than ever to rule over Jerusalem in his Davidic kingdom as he sits on the throne of David one day in the future, which is his legal right. But the devil wants the same thing. The devil also wants to rule the world from Jerusalem. Because, why? Isaiah 14, he wants to be like the Most High. He wants to sit on the side of the congregation of the Mount of the North. That's Jerusalem. He wants Jerusalem for himself to rule the world from. And this is exactly what Christ said in Matthew 24. He will be the abomination of desolation as he possesses the seventh Roman Caesar who's killed. He comes back to life. He's possessed by the devil himself. And I teach that the seventh Roman Caesar is the final pope. There's coming a pope who will die. He will be murdered. He'll come back to life. The devil will inhabit his body. And from that point on, he will go down to Jerusalem, sit in the third temple that's yet to be rebuilt, and demand to be worshipped as God for 42 months. So the end game of all of this is who's going to rule from Jerusalem. The devil for 42 months, and then ultimately the Lord Jesus Christ when he comes and destroys the beast, casts the devil in the sea of fire, or lake of fire, or in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years, and then Christ rules and reigns with a rod of iron for 1,000 years in his Davidic kingdom. So Jerusalem is the most important city on the face of the earth.
So according to the Bible, whoever actually gets there first, as it were, is going to be the bad guy. I mean, this is a difficult thing to kind of sort out then, because I mean, who's the real deal and who's the the bad guy in this scenario? I mean, if the devil knows this in a way, the question is he even gonna go for it, so to speak? I mean, this could.
The devil controls the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order controls the papacy. The papacy controls the Jerusalem right now. We are living in what the Bible teaches as the times of the Gentiles, Romans 11. And the times of the Gentiles began in 606 when the Davidic kingdom was ended, when Nebuchadnezzar came in and took away the first captivity. It's existed all the way through the Roman Empire. It's existed for the last 2,000 years because it has been Gentiles who have ruled Jerusalem up to this day. At the culmination of the times of the Gentiles, a final Gentile king, the risen pope, possessed by the devil, will rule the world from Jerusalem for 42 months. But in the end, the true Lord Jesus Christ, when he returns in power and great glory, he will smash that power, and then he will rebuild Jerusalem. He will build a huge fourth millennial temple, as we read in Ezekiel 40 through 48, and it's from there that he shall decree peace.
One thing I want to talk a little bit about, changing gears a little bit before we round things off here for the first segment. There is some interesting research out there talking about that Hitler actually was a British agent. John Condy Jr. and a few people are researching this, and is this anything that in any way connects with your work?
Sure. Sherman Skolnick wrote an article on, was Hitler a British agent? He always adhered to that, the late Sherman Skolnick. And then I believe John Coleman mentions that too. But there is no question that Hitler, like Napoleon, was a high-level Freemason. Even though his official policy in Germany was to close down the lodges because all Masonry is Jewish, right?
Yeah.
And Hitler was also, of course, a Roman Catholic, and he was an Austrian. He was not German. He only received his German citizenship in 1932, 1 year before the Knights of Malta made him chancellor. And the Knight of Malta that was primarily responsible for making Hitler chancellor was Franz von Papen, who was released during the Nuremberg war crimes trials. He was found not guilty, and they released that sinner.
Really?
Yes, you need to read. I have him in my book. I have pictures of him, but read about Franz von Papen. You can read about him in Hitler's Pope by Cornwall. They have pictures of him. But the Knights of Malta brought Hitler to power, and the Knights of Malta brought FDR to power. Knights of Malta like Joe Kennedy and others. So the Knights bring Hitler to power, they bring FDR to power in the same year, and the Knights of Malta are also advising that stinking Winston Churchill, I call him Smoking Winston Churchill, who was an absolute traitor to his own British people, controlled by the Knights of Malta. He was one himself, and that they were acting in collusion with high-level American Knights like the grandfather of George Bush, Prescott Bush Sr. He was a Knight of Malta. He was busy helping finance Fritz Thyssen, who was probably the biggest steel magnate, I believe, in all of Germany. He was a high-level Knight of Malta. And so those two were busy financing and helping Hitler to come to power, aided by British Knights. So there is no Adolf Hitler without American and British political and financial power through the Vatican Knights of Malta of each one of those countries. And Hitler was a buffoon. Hitler wasn't a writer. He never wrote Mein Kampf. He never read a book, according to Kurt Kruger, who was Hitler's, when he wrote his book, I Was Hitler's Doctor. He was Hitler's psychologist. He later left Germany and came to the U.S. in 1934-35. So Hitler was the one who preached the crusade, but the power behind the crusade were the Jesuits controlling the papacy, controlling Pius XII. It was Pius XII that brings Hitler to power, because Pius XII, before he was Pius XII, when he was the papal nuncio to Bavaria, he gave Hitler a sack of money and said, go after those communists. And you can find that written in the book La Popessa.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So the German people have been wrongly blamed for Hitler, when in fact there is no Hitler apart from America, Britain, in helping to bring this criminal to power and do what he did.
Knights of Malta, is this a Freemasonic order? I mean, I don't know how actually this goes about, but I know that most orders have to be, go through some kind of process that there are called an accepted order, either if it's through the United Grand Lodge of England or whatever it might be. But Knights of Malta, more specifically, what are they?
The Knights of Malta are the old Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, also known as the Hospitallers.
Okay.
They were the first Crusaders, started in 1099. And you can read about this in Ridpath's Universal History. They were the ones that were supposed to guard the way to the holy places so the pilgrims could come and pray and give their money and blah, 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 and work for the forgiveness of their sins, when God clearly teaches in the Bible forgiveness of sins is by grace and not by works. And so these Knights of Hospitallers, then put together huge fleets, and they became the warriors. And they wore what was called the Cross of the Knights of Malta. It was an 8-pointed silver cross on a black backdrop. And they became the most feared warriors in all the Middle East. They took on the Turks and defeated them several times. The Battle of Lepanto is one of those battles, and that, by the way, on the day the Battle of Lepanto begins, is the very day America invades Afghanistan. Okay.
Really?
So I have this in my book. So the Knights of Malta are a military crusading order intended to restore the temporal power of the Pope around the world and to center his power in Jerusalem. And so we have the Knights of Malta being also the primary bankers of the world. It is an order.
Very interesting, and again, there's so much more to go into here. I think we're going to round off the first hour here and continue talking in our subscriber section, and there's so much more to get into, talking about JFK, of course, hopefully, talk some more about the Illuminati, the origins of them, talk about the one world currency and how all of this again connects to the new world order and what's going on there. But Eric, I want to give people a chance that are interested in finding out more about your book and of course get a copy. How would I go about doing that?
You can get a copy of my ebook, Vatican Assassins, Wounded in the House of My Friends, 3rd edition. You can go to my website, VaticanAssassins.org, and order it, and I have a few distributors there that can handle it for you, or you can get it through me. You can get it through Biblio from my pastor, Nelson Turner. He has all of the web purchases, so he will handle that. And but the cost is $40, or actually 40 Federal Reserve notes plus shipping. And I think it's about $9 or $10 shipping when it's outside North America. Mm. And I'm also looking for distributors. I don't have any in Sweden, and I have a very reasonable distributor arrangement where you can make money on selling the CD, while at the same time the people there in Sweden can translate it into their own language, and there's no copyright for that.
Excellent. And is there information on your website about how people can contact you and so forth, in case there's anyone out there interested?
Yeah, you can email me at Eric, E-R-I-C, at VaticanAssassins.org. Eric, E-R-I-C, at VaticanAssassins.org. And I'll respond to your emails, and we'll go from there.
Eric and I are going to continue our conversation for another hour and talk more about the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, CIA, the New World Order, why Sweden wasn't invaded during the Second World War. We're going to talk about the Council of Trent, Albert Pike, infiltration and secret allegiances, and tying this in with where things are going today with the war in Iraq and how things will play out in the future. You don't want to miss this superb continuation of our interview with Eric Phelps. So subscribers, tune in, you're up for some excellent radio. If you're not subscribing to Red Ice Creations, you're definitely missing out. We want to encourage you to sign up and get full access to our radio archive. We're also revamping our subscribe area and have a brand new member section with a lot of good stuff in the works. Click on subscribe from our front page, redicecreations.com, and come aboard. Don't miss out on our most recent subscriber interviews with Eric Phelps, of course, but also Wayne Herschel, Andy Lloyd, David Hatcher Childress, Scott Volter, Lloyd Pye, and Michael Cremo. And the list goes on from there. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to Fredrik behind the controls. Red Ice Creations Radio will be back on Thursday. This is Henrik Palmgren. Take good care.